Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and we've got some new Cobramode stuff to show off for once that isn't at the very end of the month. And speaking of months, this is quite a topical release because it's right before Halloween, at least when this got posted. So if you're watching it afterwards, that's okay because yokai are all year long. So this was a really cool release, and I've got a bunch of the models from the October's Patreon all set to show off here. And I couldn't help myself because I've been watching a bunch of old 80s and 90s Hong Kong kung fu vampire movies, and they really got me in the mood for this release. And I saw this, I was like, oh, we've got to print these. So anyway, these are not vampires, and they have nothing to do with it, but they're just funky little bells with spirits floating around them, and big hammers, because why not? So these are actually supposed to be Tsukumogami. And Tsukumogami is the camera shakes and vibrates for some strange reason when nobody's moving things. Maybe my camera is Tsukumogami. There's supposed to be a type of yokai that when something's been around for a long, long time and you throw it away before it's, attained its 100 years of use or whatever, the item is supposed to have, created its own spirit and at that point becomes kind of an usually angry and very retributive force of nature at that point. But these guys, well, they kind of go along with one of the other releases this month, and I think they're just kind of cool, funky animate objects. And if you like animate objects, they have a couple of other Tsukumogami. We have a walking cauldron of mystical stuff bubbling around. In a very Cobramode-like sculpt. A very ornamental face on there. And then we have a little friend of his, a walking potion flask. That one would be a fun one to paint up. Not that I can do it justice, but the real stars of this release are actually, and the reason I'm talking about Chinese kung fu movies and vampires, if you've never had a chance to experience the joy of some of the classics of Hong Kong cinema like Mr. Vampire or A Chinese Ghost Story or Spooky Encounters or many others, they're a lot of fun, and they're very different, obviously, than a lot of our Western horror counterparts. And a lot of them are also very comedic, and that's kind of fun. Anyway, one of the big tropes of a lot of the older Hong Kong horror movies was the Gyeongchi, or the hopping vampires, and they usually would have these guys, the Taoist priests, ringing bells, and they'd have all the vampires hopping along. Sadly, we don't have any vampires, but we do have a spirit caller, a Hikiga, to be exact, and the Hikiga are the big amphibian lizard men-like models that Cobramode has continued to perpetuate onto my tabletop and hopefully onto YouTube, if the algorithm is going to work to everybody's benefit. This is what the model looks like. This is Sarashino. Naturally, they have to have the big wide-brimmed bamboo hat with the bell on there. Now, he does have a bell. He, she, it, I don't know. It's a toad lizard thingy, and I'm not down with checking under the skirt, although you can, and there is a little fundoshi underwear thing, but that's all, and we'll leave it at that. There is supposed to be a bell, and everything came off the print bed perfectly when I was printing these, and then I snapped it literally as soon as I was about to film today, so I'll have to fix that. And the missing hand is right here. It's a nice little walking stick to help prop them up, boop, like that, or you can have the potion walking around with them as well. So I thought those were pretty cool, but I guess since we don't have any little platypi hopping vampires yet, or any of the little Hanzaki newt guys, salamanders, we do have something really cool. They had a giant grand onibi with a bunch of masks. So an onibi is kind of like a floating light spirit type thing. So this is what it looks like to start with. You'll notice it is hollow, and it has a bunch of these weird little edges on there, and that's because it's going to be wearing a bunch of masks. And this one right here was flat. I freaked out that I, put it too close to the edge of the print bed, but no, that actually is supposed to be there. Because what you're going to do is you're going to be mounting various masks all over it. The masks look really cool, I thought. This is based on the Hikiga, the big amphibian dudes. This one's going to go in the front here, and actually it fits on quite nicely without any glue even. And then we have 3 more as I'm looking around the table and hopefully not smashing and breaking things, which I might since I already did. We've got other various little masks, all based on Cobramode. Well, most based on Cobramode races. We've got one of those, the Piraja, the Jow, obviously the Hikiga, and a very Inoshishi, whatever his name is, looking mask as well, which is kind of cool. Oh my gosh, like it looks like it's from Demon Slayer. Yeah. And on top of that, we have, because it wouldn't be a Cobramode release without one of these, if I'm going to be showing it off, a spectral Hanzaki. This is Hagetaka. Every time I think Hage, I always think, bald dude. So he's got a couple of pieces that are going to need to be printed off separately. The main one being his harpoon that I didn't do the best job cleaning. I actually ended up, it didn't print correctly. I had a little bit of a print error right here. There's supposed to be a few more links of the chain and then a hook that is going to come on after that. I'm going to probably just glue everything conveniently together. So he's going to be flying around on top of the giant spirit. And then we have the back of his bandana as well. So it looks like I got a lot here I'm going to have to put together. So give me a sec. We're going to clear it off. Hopefully I can fix that bell wherever I put it. And I'll show you how they turn out. Alright, we got Sarashino. I was going to say Sagashino. We got her all patched up. You can see the bell now currently in the hand. Bell on top of the hat. And I have no idea what size base to put them on as I'm grabbing. That's a 40 millimeter. Actually, 40 millimeter makes sense. It's a nice little fit there, and there's a good balance with the staff there. Come to think of it, this Hikiga is also on a 40 millimeter base, but they do fit on the squares as well. I managed to get our giant Onibi on a 50 millimeter base. Here you can see with his masks all flying around there. It's big, but it's not like our Shuiren sorcerer from Cobramode size, who I'm actually in the process of trying to finish up one of these days. I know a couple other people have already finished painting him. Here we've got our little spectral Hikiga. I don't know if I'm going to paint him like a ghost. I'm tempted just to have kind of spirit energy coming out of his eyes and leave it at that. That's a neat model. I mean, even just unpainted, just the amount of detail in those masks. I'm thinking for the big main one, I want to paint it up kind of like one of the lion dancer type heads from Chinese New Year. I think that would be a cool look. Very colorful, very festive, very creative. So that's big. I mean, actually, I gotta say most of this release has been pretty large models. Now obviously the spirits of the Tsukumogami are a little bit more thin in their use of materials, but they're still pretty big. I guess if you really wanted to shrink them down, but having the bell... Since I don't have any hopping vampires yet, I think Cobramode's going to have to get on that. Somebody's going to have to get on that. We need little hopping vampires, but what would they be? Would they be salamanders? Would they be platypi? I don't know. Or some good old-fashioned ones, or Shenkyo from Darkstalkers. That's what we need instead. So yeah, fun release, and I don't even have everything printed up. There was still the big undead axolotl-looking dragon. So, as you can see, fun little mix of stuff here. Very festive for Halloween-y. And hopefully something different if you're in the mood to step out of the typical comfort zone of fantasy releases. Absolutely, Cobramode is going to get you covered with some rather unique stuff. With that said, we'll have our links down below if you want to take a look through their back catalog or on the Patreon itself if you're catching this at a later date. by all means, there is plenty there to enjoy. This has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.